This episode is sponsored by Launch. Are you an insurance agent that is tired of quoting business to try and find a better premium to win new deals? Are you looking for a way to differentiate and stand out from your competition? Well, look no further than Launch. Launch is an industry-leading software platform that gives you pre-built assessments that you can walk through with your prospect. Launch automatically calculates your prospect's risk score, and this allows you to show your prospect the areas you can fix to negotiate better premium and coverage with underwriters. Offer more value to your clients, turn missed sales into closed business, and most of all, become a better advisor to your clients. Visit getlaunch.io today to get more information on how you can use Launch to win more BORs starting right now. That's getlaunch.io to learn more.
Welcome to the Getting Past the Premium podcast, where we focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, well, welcome back to the show, Lisa. We're excited to have you back on.
It is
I've seen you, Lisa.
pleasure.
Yeah, well, and you just got back from Sturgis, so we promised the viewers we'd keep everything PG, so we won't tell too many stories. But you were talking about, which prior to recording, we were talking about your husband and your conversation around creating a culture, building your business around a culture of you can actually leave and go to Sturgis and have a great time, and be able to rely on your team and build out the processes and the people and everything you need so that when you come back, you're not in a whirlwind of mountains of emails and projects and things to do. You're able to actually disconnect a bit and focus on your family vacation or whatever. I think this is very applicable in what you were talking about, because as advisors, a lot of us, work as a producer or an advisor for a larger firm, not necessarily running our own business, and not necessarily sometimes not viewing it as I need to build my own team, when in reality, that's ultimately how a producer should be looking at it, because you're going to reach a point where you can't do it all. And you need to ask for, maybe it's asking your manager for resources underneath you, or bringing on those resources yourself sometimes. And so I'm just curious your progression to getting to this point, and then you can maybe give the backstory of your conversation between you and your husband and kind of how that got there. But yeah, just curious your thoughts on that.
I am happy to share. So, it didn't magically happen overnight. It's taken me 7 years to find the right staff, to find the right group, that we all are on the common same goal, and then to build out what our roles are and how that team works. And honestly, there's nothing better than as a commissioned based person, as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed, to be able to actually leave your business and know that your business doesn't stop. Yep. Before I built out my team, that's exactly what it felt like, is leaving and knowing that no one is there to manage everything, to serve your clients, unless you actually do it. And so then that creates stress on your trips. It creates, a different dynamic on your relationships when you're on vacation, when you have to say, you know what, I just need to take 10 minutes and do this, or I need to take this phone call, or I need to work in my emails for a couple hours. That it's not the end of the world, but it's not that freeing sense of just being able to engage and enjoy yourself when you're gone.
Yeah, and I would imagine, not to interrupt you, but I would imagine in your business, without that, you're on 24/7, because you get people like me that just up and decide to buy a house over the weekend and need a pre-approval, and you're on, you got to be on, even if you're on vacation, right? If you don't have somebody else that can take that. Is that a fair statement?
That is very fair, because every phone call that you don't take is a paycheck that you probably missed.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good way to put it.
So
unless you have the team.
Unless you have a team, yes. Because if they don't get you, they'll move on to the next person that answers the phone if they really need help.
Totally.
If you haven't built a relationship with them and you don't know them yet, they'll move on.
Oh, absolutely.
and you've
What?
lost the sale or you've lost the commission, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest roadblocks or maybe just like things that held you back, or initially when you were like, I'm gonna to take my business to the next level, I need to start building out that team. What was holding you back from doing that?
There's two things generally that I find that hold me back and maybe hold other people back. The first one is, do I have enough work to keep somebody else busy?
Yep.
That's the first one. The second one is, how am I going to pay for this other person? Can I really afford them?
Can I afford it? Yep.
Yes. What I have found through coaching, and just other people within our company, is that the minute you make the decision to grow and to say, okay, I'm okay paying for this person. If I have to pay for him, I will. This is the next step. Once you make that decision, it changes your game. Like, it totally changes your mentality. It changes your game. Um, you, it's not that you worry so much about paying for them. It's that your business gets better and becomes more because you have help.
Yep.
The help that you didn't have before, the help that frees you up to build your business and create deeper relationships. Paperwork doesn't pay well. Relationships
True.
pay very well. And I would rather spend my time building relationships than pushing paper.
Totally.
And as a business owner, you kind of have to look at it like that. If you're doing your own accounting, why? Does that go out and get you more contracts? Does it go out and make more client relationships? It does nothing to make more business come in. It's just something that has to be done.
Yep. And what is the highest and best use of your time?
The highest use of my time is actually being with my clients.
Yep.
Being with my clients, being with my real estate partners, financial advisors, CPAs, attorneys, being with them, because not only that, so they're calling because they need something from me, because they have issues, they have questions. And I'm calling them because I may need something from them. And so if we're both engaged and we create that deep relationship, it creates more business for both of us. And the same goes for my clients. 75% of my business comes from clients and their referrals. So if I don't spend my time with them, then I may not be getting that business back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good perspective. Knowing your numbers is a key thing. I think Ryan might have a good perspective on this, but it's almost like when you're looking to hire that first person, is instead of saying, can I afford this person? It's almost like, can I afford not to hire this person?
What are you losing
And
out on?
yeah, what's your ROI that you're missing out because you haven't reinvested in yourself? I don't know, Ryan. I feel like you got a couple from your background, good perspectives on that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Like, I think one of the keys, and I'm actually doing this right now. It's kind of funny that we're having this conversation today. I wasn't planning on it. I'll tell you what I'm doing today, though. But so, you know, some of us are pretty good at being able to create a business plan and say, okay, I'm getting to the point where I have to have help, right? Because I'm just bleeding, and like, we got to stop the bleeding, and I can't. I have to get somebody in here. So it's kind of like a gut feeling type of thing. But then we're good enough to like run some numbers to figure out how to justify it. What I've found is the hardest thing is, like, once they've been here 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, like, how are you still making sure that you are doing the best job at evaluating what you're doing, evaluating what they're doing, making sure it's lining up with, the right tasks are falling in the right people's laps, and that you're delegating properly and all of that stuff. And that's specifically what I'm going through right now. I'm using a system called Free to Focus. It's Michael Hyatt's system from what I can tell, it's pretty cool. I'm just a little ways into it, and it's really a course on how to like stop, take a breath and figure out what you're doing, what you're good at, why you're doing what you're doing, and then can you get better at this? So in this class, there's 3 different modules. The first module is stop. And within that, there's evaluate, formulate, and rejuvenate. The second module is cut. And within that, it's eliminate, automate, and delegate. And then the third module is act. And within that, it's consolidate, designate, and activate. And so like we're going through a process right now with our task filters, writing down the different things that we're doing throughout the day and figuring out kind of where they fall. So anyway, like this is where I struggle, right? Is like I can run the math and do the business plan up front, but somebody sits here and for a couple years, how do we continue to reevaluate to make sure that we're getting what we need to out of our people and me?
Did you run into that at all, Lisa? As you like, part of me, my head goes to there is not only like process and system improvement, but potentially hiring that next person or and then you mentioned like what are each person's roles within that. I'd be curious kind of how you went through a lot of that process, kind of being as Ryan's going through it right now.
Right. So for my position, I have 2 sides of the coin. The first side is the sales side. Pre-approving clients, serving them, structuring their loan, all of that stuff. The second side of it is all the admin that comes with it. And you can relate that to any job, any, entrepreneurial type of position where you're in sales or you're selling a product or yourself or whatever it is.
Generate revenue, retain revenue.
Right.
What do you got to do?
So when I first started all of this, I had a coach that said, I want you to go through and I want you to write down everything that you do. And then I want you to write down the activities or mark the activities that actually make you money. And then everything else needs to go somewhere else. Because if you can do more of the activities that make you money, you can pay for the people to do the other jobs. So then that morphed into what we call swim lanes within our team. So all of those tasks, those daily tasks, monthly, quarterly, pretty much everything that we do from start to finish of a loan to client retention to our monthly mailers, client appreciation events, the whole 9 yards. It's on 3 pages of an Excel workbook. And each task is designated to someone on our team. And they take accountability and responsibility for it. And it also, there's a timeline on those tasks. So if it's first payment emails or first payment letters, we know that goes out on the 15th of every month after closing. And we know who does it, who's responsible for it. So when you get to that point, I think the first part is you've got to evaluate your accountability. Is everyone doing what they're supposed to be doing and being accountable for it? Do they own it? Are they accomplishing it? If they're not accomplishing it, then you gotta address why. Is there just not enough time? Do you not understand the task? Does it not fall in your wheelhouse? Like, what's the obstacle? And so about every 6 months, there's 2 girls that work for me on my team. And every 6 months we meet and we go through that entire list to make tweaks. Do we need to add tasks? Do we need to take stuff away? Do we need to change who does it? And it seems tedious, but there's a lot of times that it creates such a great dynamic between the 3 of us that we understand each other better. We understand our clients better. We grow and we're more unified together. So you won't always have the right team in the beginning. You just got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. Once you find one good person, then grow off of that. But until you find multiple people, I think you've got to do the tasks yourself that create the revenue. That should be your number one goal. Whoever you need to keep accountable, like ask a friend to keep you accountable, get a coach, ask your boss. It doesn't matter, colleague, it doesn't matter who it is. Someone has to keep you accountable or you're going to divert back because it's comfortable to divert back,
Yeah.
at least in my experience.
I don't remember exactly what this was from too, but it was an interesting lens to look at it. But it was like I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was like the power of being lazy or the power of laziness or something. And what they were saying is like some people like from the outside might look at the fact that you have 6, 7 people working under you doing all the admin and everything like that as like, well, she just doesn't want to do that. She's being lazy. It's like, no, she's figured out where to put the where to put her time to make the biggest impact with her clients, you know. So it was creating a funny way to think about it, but like just ask yourself, like, I just want to be lazy. Like what, what's the best way that I could just be lazy and do the things that, only do the things that create the highest
Yeah.
ROI and not do the things that keep me from doing that suck my energy, that I'm not good at, that so on and so forth. And, relating that to the risk management industry, it's always, you could see it sometimes in progression of careers, right? Where person starts out with no book, no clients. All they're doing is out of the office, hustling, building relationships, calling on people, so on and so forth. And then as you build that book and you have clients to take care of, it can get really hard to maintain that same level of you know business development. And
Really.
that's okay, but you still have to make sure you create the right amount of business development so that you continue to grow to whatever point you need to. And you got to be careful that you don't have that ebbs and flows in the business where you get really busy and you work on a bunch of business and then you forget to prospect and you forget to do your business development. Then that shuts off for 90 days and then you get really busy again because you're prospecting. And so it's taking that step back. I like how you said do it every 6 months. I think that's a good time frame, just to take that step back and say what's working, what's not, what do we need to tweak. Because not only does things change in your business, but things change in the business environment, and maybe there's a new technology out there, a new way to do something that you've been doing the same way for 5 years and you could automate things, or there's a new market now that you should be taking advantage of, things like that do come up that are going to be important. And so taking that step back to say what's working, what's not, I think is hugely important.
Yeah, I also feel like, just to add on to that real quick, something that is often overlooked in this conversation is your why. Connecting your why and then everyone else's why who's on your team to the tasks and what they're doing on a day-to-day basis and all of that stuff. So, deeply understanding that, articulating it in different ways to make it relatable and connect, and then sharing. Again, I was going through this exercise this morning where we were talking about our whys and what we're doing, and it just being able to share like what you care about right now and where you want your time being spent right now. Like, if you don't communicate that stuff, there's nobody can help you. So, sitting down and then talking about kind of the deeper why stuff, not just the task, can be beneficial.
I agree with that 100%. I also think whoever you hire, you've got to have some of their motivation too. You've got to know what's motivating them. So at the end of the year, I always do a recap and I ask my girls, what are 3 goals, personal and business, that you want to accomplish? And like one of them was, she wanted to save so much money. The other one, she wanted to pay off credit cards. So then, at the end of the year, the next year, I say, okay, let's go back to that. What did you accomplish? Did you get where you wanted to go? Are you happy in your job role? Is there something we need to change? Like, I constantly ask them for ideas for things that they think would make us better. And like, honestly, I am really, really good at loans. That is my jam. I am not great at the paperwork or the technology part, but I tell you what, both of those girls are rock stars, like amazing. And they come to me with things that I would have never even thought about. But it's a very open door. It's not like, hey, I run this team, it's my office. It's we're all in this together. And you won't find that necessarily with the first person you hire. But when you do find that, it's a wonderful dynamic.
It's that highest and best use of talent. I mean, different people are good at different things, and different people enjoy different things. And getting people in the right position is key for not only them getting to the goals they want to get to and creating a happy, fulfilled life, but also for you, because you're gonna be taking tasks you're not good at and shifting them to somebody that gets, fulfillment out of them, frankly.
For
I
the
think it's
business owners, tie this conversation up a little bit more. Like, go get a business valuation. If you want to connect the dots, go get a business valuation and see what it's worth. I have these conversations all the time, and I just got out of another one where they were shocked that the business was worth what they had for equipment, and that was it. And it's like, well, who's got the relationships? Who does all the work? And who's got all the, doing all the contracts with the suppliers and negotiating all of that? And where's all the IP sit? And all those answers were themselves, And so it's in the same vein of this conversation where if you're not making other people around you better, like, you're also bleeding value. Delegate, run the business from an iPad, be able to run the business from an iPad and watch your valuation shoot through the roof.
To that point, I think if you pour into other people, they will give back to you. And not only that, but the more you pour into others, it just compounds upon itself and good things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that if you're doing 6 jobs. Your accounting, your supply order, your IT, sales. You can't do it if you're doing all of it. And no one is good at everything. Totally. At least I haven't met anyone that's good at every single piece of the business.
Yeah. Some people think they are, and those are probably the most dangerous, right? Well, okay, so I think that's really good stuff. I hope everybody's taking some good notes. I want to pivot to one other topic that we had discussed real quick to kind of get your thoughts with the environment that we're in right now. For the last, I don't know how long, 10, 12 years, we've had low interest rates. We've had inflation hasn't been too bad. All of those things that have led to a really robust housing market again. And now we're seeing the opposite of that. And so on our last podcast with you, we were discussing, client experience and how you create a really good experience for your clients and maintain those relationships. But I would imagine that you're having to do slightly different things, particularly at maybe point of sale or, in the process of walking one of your buyers through the mortgage process. What are you doing differently, or different conversations you're having, tweaking verbiage, more education, whatever you're doing to kind of still create that really good client experience when you can't control the underlying rates, the underlying terms, things like that?
Great question. So part of it comes, actually the majority of it is education. If you talk to somebody that's in their 40s, they remember interest rates being in the 7s. And a lot of people bought their first house and they were like, oh yeah, my interest rate was at 7%. And I thought I was a rock star. If you talk to somebody in their 50s, they remember it being at, 13%. And the older generations remember a different interest rate market. So it's not as shocking for them. Younger generations, however, have never seen rates that have been escalated like this. They've been in a very historically low rate environment. So it is a big shock to see in the last, since December to now, interest rates going up 3%, from 3s to 6. And as far as their buying power, that's the other part of it.
Yep.
Is, on average, most home buyers have lost about $160,000 of buying power because of increased interest rates. So the tough part about it is you can educate clients, you can share all of this research with them, and to be honest, nobody likes rates where they're at. If I could give you 2%, I sure would, but this is not the rate environment that we're in. So we have to talk strategy on the rate environment that we're in. So you may have to buy a little bit less of a house. You may have to save a little bit more. We may have to talk interest rate buy downs. That's like the new thing now. It's an old thing, but we didn't need it before, and now it's come back.
Yeah.
So, we talk strategy overall on accomplishing whatever that target is. They may have wanted to buy a $400,000 house last year, and now they may have to buy a $300,000 house. That's the tough part. And also educating them that it's not the end all be all. Marry the house and date the rate. When rates change again, you're going to refinance, and we're going to do it for you. You're going to be in our servicing portfolio. We already have a refinance watch list going for everyone that's closed this year. So they're top of mind. We know to do it. It's temporary. The house will be permanent. The rate can be temporary.
Yeah. So one question on the flip side of that, because I think we get this a lot in our industry. I think it's very applicable. I'm curious to how you get it, is the education piece, where insurance premiums are going up significantly as well, right? The argument to say educating our clients ahead that here's what premiums are doing, here's why, things like that, as well, they're just going to shop us. They're just going to go out and try to find somebody else that can do it, because now they're concerned that we can only give them a 20% rate. How do you approach that from that perspective when you're talking about education around rates?
So we utilize, and we actually tell our clients, if you want to monitor rates yourself, go out to Mortgage Bankers Association, go to Mortgage News Daily. They post average rates that companies are locking and closing. It's no secret. You can look back historically. It's not like we're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. We'll give you all of the options out there, but this is your affirmation that we're not lying to you. We're actually telling you this is where the market's at. This is how it's changed. And I can go back to December of last year and show them it was 3.5% to where it is today at almost 6%. And I didn't make up the data. It's not something I pulled out of my head. It's all statistical. It's all facts. And our job is to combat that and get them the best deal they can for the house that they want. And we'll show them all the options. Like, we actually do a lot of analysis to show them different price points, different interest rates, what a buy down looks like, what it looks like to maybe put less down. If they had originally planned on putting 20% down, well, let's talk strategies with less. Yep. So, it takes a lot of effort. It is a lot of education. We spend a lot of time with folks, but that's what we get paid to do.
Yep.
I don't know if insurance industry has something like that that's a marker.
Not as readily available. There's companies that track, average market increases and things like that. So that's certainly a good idea to focus on. How much though does the relationship you have built with that client impact that process in education?
It is a very strong impact. So I've had clients tell me, you know what, I'm going to go shop. Okay, go shop. Here are the questions to ask. After you shop, come back to me. Let's see what you get. And 9 times out of 10, or maybe, I would say probably 90% of the time, yes, it's no better.
Yeah.
They didn't get anything better. The few times that it is better, they went to Joe Blow online, who just shot them out something, knows nothing about them, didn't pull their credit, didn't verify their employment, has no idea what their purchase goals are, has no idea if they're even qualified, and just shot them out something. But that's just to get the phone to ring.
Yep.
So even if they do go with that online lender or whoever quoted them that magical rate, they typically end up coming back because what I told them was honest. I was truthful. I showed them data. I educated them. And then to come to find out that shiny penny that they went after wasn't really shiny at all.
Yep.
It ended up being a very bad deal. Now, a lot of times those people don't come back until they're 2-3 weeks in it. And then it's a fire drill, but still, I mean,
Yep.
that's the case. So I think whatever industry you're in, you have to create some kind of research and standard for your clients so they know. You can't just say, hey, everything's gone up 10%. I think it's easier to equate if you say, so let's just take insurance. If you say 10% to me, it doesn't really mean too much. But if you said the average insurance policy last year was $2,400, this year the average insurance policy is ranging from $2,400 to $2,800. And this is why. As a consumer, that speaks to me. You did your research, you gave me data that was relevant, and you told me why. It's hard to argue with that.
Totally. I love that. I'm actually taking a note on that as we speak because I think that's spot on. I mean, as you said that, I was like, geez, I think that's how most of the conversations go. Is like, well, the market's showing about 10%, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure in the client's mind, they're like, okay, what, like, are you
What does that
telling
mean
me
for me?
that? Or yeah, is that what mine's gonna be? Or,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And we're trying to educate them. It's not it's not inaccurate information, but it may not be based on data or something that we can show the client to validate what we're telling them. And typically what we find is it's too late in the process. So they've already received their renewal from the carrier. And we may be like, we're already planning to remarket it and do all the things because we know the environment we're in right now. But the client doesn't know that. They just saw, well, I got 25% rate increase. And then when we start to educate them, it's like defensive. They feel like you're just trying to justify my 25% rate increase so I don't go shop type of thing. And so I think that being proactive with it too is a key component of that for sure.
Yes, I think you got to tell people the why, and then you got to tell them, you know, some good research on what you see in the market and why you see it that way. The first thing I tell people, especially first-time home buyers, is you're probably not going to get the rate that you saw in December. That is a unicorn, and it was a unicorn even then. So now we're back to reality, and this is what reality looks like. And if you want to look for yourself, here are 2 really great resources to go out to.
I like that. Awesome. Cool. Well, anything else that we want to show or tell to our audience that we didn't hit on? Anything you want to share?
I think if you're working on building on a team, get a coach. Get a business coach that will help keep you accountable, that will help you structure what you want that team to look like. Create a vision, like Ryan said, because your vision is what's going to drive the team. And like in Sturgis, my husband did point out, because I didn't have to check my email once. Any phone calls I got, I could forward them straight to the office. My team took care of every single detail. And when I came back into the office, all I had was my work for that day, not my work for the entire week that I was gone. And my husband pointed that out when we got back after our first work day back, and he's like, how was your day? And I was like, it wasn't bad. I just went through what I had to get through today. And he's just like, you have no idea how fortunate you are. Like, that is so difficult to find and to create. And it does take effort. Like Brian
Oh,
said,
yeah.
you have to stop. You have to slow down because you have to be able to evaluate what you want it to look like. You can't just hire somebody and magically think they're going to figure it out on their own.
You have to be intentional with it.
Yes. Yes. So get a coach. That's my advice. Get a coach or a mentor, a very good mentor that will help you through it.
I totally
good
agree.
advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on again. And this is the reason why we have you back on, because I think everybody had to have gotten a ton of good value. I was taking notes, so I hope everybody else was too.
They're jogging on a street or mowing their yard. Listen to the podcast, Elliot.
I don't know. A couple people might have been on the treadmill trying to write notes and gotten hurt taking a tumble or something. So
they're taking notes on their phone.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you both so much again for having me on. Like, honestly, this is a true honor. Thank you for asking me back. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
Appreciate it. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.